This is the Silt versus RPG, A God Must Feed, Part 5. It's the beginning of a session. Let's go ahead and do a recap of all of our active assignments. We have 3 active assignments, and in total, you've answered 1 question among all 3 assignments. Hopefully, we'll make better progress today on the assignments. We'll see. The Hungering Roots is the one that you were sort of forced to abandon because of your activities in this neighborhood where this grow facility is at. They have sort of captured a harvest god and are using it to grow strange things for commercial purposes. And the Bureau has asked you all to look into it, and you currently have 5 clues. There are different questions to answer there, all of them different versions of how to resolve the assignment. How is the harvest god most vulnerable? What resources does this harvest god offer if appeased? Where can this harvest god be safely transplanted? So you can pursue any of those avenues. And we have a few side characters that we've met as well. They're all listed there. You've also already used your verse there, the verse of the inevitable harvest. The Dusk Mother is where you're at right now, in the little rural town of Weft, where a stray angel of the Dusk Mother is kind of terrorizing the community. It's a big bird, as it turns out. And we've actually learned a little bit about this creature. We know where it's at. It's in a, I think we decided it's in a foundry, right? That's like nearby in Weft. And we've started to suspect, indeed, we kind of know, that the angel is actually born out of Mother Skeleton. There's this family, the Skeletons, and they refer to the bird as mother, and that's because it is their mother, the mother figure of their family. It was sort of birthed out of her skull, sort of Athena and Zeus style. And so you currently have 2 questions there. How is the angel bound to the skeleton family? I mean, we're pretty well close to answering that, I think. Or what purpose drives the angel? 2 different ways of resolving. You have 5 clues currently on those questions. You have also used your verse there, which is the verse of the Dreaming Nest. And we didn't make much progress on the 3rd mystery, which is the floating market. A floating black market selling scraps of divinities to people who need them is currently, it seems like maybe there is some incredibly illegal activity going on there, and there's one particular illegal divine product that the authorities have not been able to deal with. And so the Bureau has been sent in to figure out which product is it. And then once you answer that question, that will lead to the next part of the investigation. You have no clues currently. And so here we are. The very last thing we saw was a sort of a clinic being hosted by Theo. And then a little later, we learned that the initial impetus for this clinic, a little sick boy in Weft, is maybe not actually sick, but might actually be part of a conspiracy. The Institute seems has coerced a family into allowing them to let them experiment on their children, changing them into half-formed or perhaps malformed saints, one of which is currently in that family's basement. The other is the sick boy. And so that's sort of where things are. That was a pretty thorough recap, I think, actually. Let's take a look at our custodians. And Theo, loaded with conditions as usual. Jasper is quite filled up on conditions right now, but Pele and Sedna are doing okay. So next step, if you wish, you may mark new end of session questions or leave either or both the same. Does anyone have a move that resolves at the beginning of session? Okay.
No, but I just remembered to change my end of session questions.
Go ahead and do that. And I would introduce a new assignment if there were less than 3, but we have 3, so we're good to go. Mm-hmm. And so we're in the investigation phase. If anyone wants to travel to another assignment, then we will do the journey phase for that character or characters. Let's go around the table. I think we'll kind of situate ourselves basically a little later in that day, that same day, kind of the afternoon. The situation's kind of under control. Theo, you're still controlled by Rides Beneath the Loam, right? Or at least
Yes.
connected to it.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's some weirdness going on there. Um, let's just go around the table first and find out what everyone's interested in doing, and then we'll figure out what the scenes look like. Any thoughts, Sedna? You're muted, Amanda. We can't hear you.
We're back in
You're in Weft.
the Weft, yeah. I think I want to go back out to the floating market. I had a bit of a bad experience my first time
That's
there.
right. We should mention that. It looks like the authorities from that neighborhood east of Glottage, someone told the authorities that you might be connected to the body they presumably found in the grow facility, and led you, for whatever reason, they knew where you were, they knew where you might be, and you narrowly escaped the authorities. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to head back there. I'm feeling really confident and really optimistic for some reason, so I guess
Okay.
I'm going to try it. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got at least one person journeying back to the floating market. That sounds great to me. It's a night market, so the daytime it might be a good time to go because there won't be a lot of people around. So, Jasper, what about you?
Jasper is actually also thinking about traveling to the floating market.
Sounds good. All right. Pele?
Well, me, and I suggest Brother Theo as well, still have work to do here in Weft. I think that we could really put a nail in what's happening here, and I think Theo has some stuff to work through just from what I've noticed. But Theo can do whatever Theo wants. But Pele is essentially going to do the favorite character trope of big scary person and then small infected by a god person trope with Theo. That's what I'm hoping for. But Theo, if you have other ideas, that's perfectly fine.
I definitely don't want to ignore the hungering roots because like it's been 4 sessions now. I hate to see what it looks like now. It terrifies me, but like we need to handle it.
Yeah, you should probably get out of Weft then if you want to go to. Yeah, you're probably the best person to go back to
Yeah,
take care
because
of
I
the
did-
Hungry Roots.
because
You
I
didn't
didn't
murder
ki-
anybody.
I didn't
and
murder anyone, and I didn't commit any property damage. So
This is true. This is true.
Well,
Yeah,
so
I'll
let's-
stay at Weft.
Patricia doesn't hate you.
Yeah.
So Pele's staying in Weft. What would you like to do while you're in Weft, Pele?
I'm going to do some digging. I'm not going to talk to people. That is not what Pele does. Pele has, in their own mind, talked to enough people to get a grasp of the situation. So now Pele's going to start doing some like actual digging, like on the ground. I want to start looking for like what other people are being affected by this angel and everything, and see if we can get a full grasp of what's happening, and hopefully answer another question with it involved as well.
Mm-hmm. Theo, so you're staying in Weft as well, or you're going
I
to?
know I'm going back to
Oh, the Hungering Roots assignment.
yeah, the Hungry Roots assignment. Because
Okay, splitting the party, indeed. Very good.
Mhm.
I like it a lot. Okay, great. So we have 3 characters in journey phase, and 1 character who is staying in Weft in investigation phase. I want to go ahead and set up these journey phases. So Jasper and Sedna are going to a different place than you, Theo. How is everyone traveling where they're going? Who's taking what car? You have 2 vehicles, right? You have the van and you have the motorcycle, but the motorcycle is Pele's. And so how's everyone getting where they're going?
Proposition 1, what if
You drop somebody off.
drop somebody off? Is
Yeah.
like, is Theo gets dropped off.
Yeah, that works.
Oh yeah. Or I don't know, maybe something interesting.
I like the idea of Theo getting dropped off, if that's okay, Theo.
Yeah,
I
that's
think that
fine.
works. Then we can kind of do all one journey phase,
Mm.
or one journey scene. Okay, so we're in the journey phase. Let's take a look at our scenes. I think let's do another roadside diner. We have so many to choose from. Our roadside diner is going to be the Butter Princess. Let's talk about the Butter Princess roadside diner. Each player has to answer one of these questions, including you, Wes. In fact, Wes, what notable iconography or decor stands out to you? Be thinking about that. Amanda, what special is featured on the menu? Alex, what quirky diner tradition do the locals maintain at the Butter Princess? And Chaotic, what rumor have you heard about the owner of this establishment? If you are looking for discussion prompts, you can recall a time. The recall a time will be, where was the last place you went on a date? And so, if we're gonna have some, there's the scene. We'll see if we'll have the journey move. We'll take a quick break so you all can think about your scenes and whatever else you might like to do here, and also think about your paint the scene. So let's just take like a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do all that. I think before we get to the Butter Princess, let's start with Pele. So Pele, your fellow custodians have all taken off. You got your motorcycle still. They took the van to go check on the other assignments. Things are kind of hot right now all over. And it is probably, high noon in Weft. Where do we find you?
Pele is probably going to be walking around the farms and the areas around Weft, but not near the skeleton family, like deep in that swamp. And I guess like farms is like very what's the word I'm thinking of? I'm being very kind when I say the word farm. I think maybe like family homes where everything's run down. But just trying to get a sense of everything, and I'm trying to get like a vibe check on the seeing the community interact with custodians in the actual town is one thing, but Pele's trying to see how people act when there's nobody around, that kind of thing. Just kind of wandering around and just trying to blend in a little bit with local flavor, but not trying too hard.
I think you come upon an abandoned lumber mill because we know there's this woods nearby, right? The lumber mill has gravel roads. There are actually abandoned pickup trucks and hulking rusted machinery. Great big log piles taller than cabins, sprouting with triumphant fungal blooms, and a pretty strong scent of mildew, sawdust, and gasoline lingering in the air. Let's paint the scene, everyone. How have the trees in this region grown strange, and what makes their lumber particularly unsafe for any practical use?
It's all just very wet. And trying to chop wood when it's wet, it can be kind of sticky, and you can't really have very good control to where trees, when they get cut down, which direction they're gonna fall in, because it could just turn to mush and fall on top of you.
And even though they're wet, it's kind of a problems on the outside, problems on the inside, because the actual wood itself is just so knotted, and there are so many malformed segments of its growth that absolutely perilous to cut through, because it will break most tools given how many just knots and tangles in its own formation there are. But there are a lot of fungal species that have kind of nested in this bark and these knots. So cutting into them, or even fashioning anything out of them, you risk cutting into a pocket of spores, and that's not healthy.
Along with the wetness and the spores comes insects that like to live and burrow in these sort of little mini biomes that each tree has. And because they're all so different, and all these different kinds of fungi are so different, the types of insects and creatures, there's millions of different kinds, and some are poisonous, some are venomous, some are harmless, but very, very, very large. So it's just a really unpleasant place.
Yeah, and if anybody that's been in a swamp, they know that that is a biome that's teeming with creatures. And even though the ground is wet and the wood is knotted and strong, because like that kind of like cypress trees, that kind of stuff like that, it's really strong and it's really good to use in tools, even though it's highly flammable. The ground is so uneven and it's so rooted, so it's hard to get a good foothold on anything. Like it's and there's just like stuff living in the roots of these trees, and so there's no telling what's going to jump out at you. Like it's just you're fighting against a full biome of creatures that fights against you.
Well, it's pretty obvious why the lumber mill's abandoned now. These trees suck. I like the idea that you're being driven by your senses right now, Pele, and you'll have maybe it was the scent of mildew and sawdust that drew you here, but there's another scent that might draw you away if you choose to follow it. One of manure, blood, chemicals. We know from the assignment recap, or from the assignment introduction, that the Dusk Mother was terrorizing a meat processing plant, or the Angel of the Dusk Mother. And so maybe it's in that direction. It seems like the Skeletons have the only like farm in the area, their ranch, and it's unclear what they're actually ranching, to be honest. So where do you go? What do you do?
I think the lumber mill is just it checks all the boxes for why it didn't work, and there's nothing strange going on there. So I think the meat processing plant, like you said, is probably the best bet. Is going to go and like wants to assess the environment there. What's the feeling? What's the vibes there?
I'm going to say as you're moving through the clutching woods towards the smell of manure and blood and chemicals, you start to notice more and more little bugs creeping about. They are coming out of the trees, these wet knots. They are starting to come together in quite large clumps along your path. And eventually these little chittering bugs begin to block your path. Indeed, their swarm begins to take up the form of a minor god, or perhaps a saint of a god. Perhaps it is a saint of the Seething Lord. Perhaps it is the Seething Lord himself. But in any case, you find yourself face to face with a vaguely man-shaped mass of bugs. What do you do?
Pele is going to just look down and say, "There's no quarrel I have with you. You and your ilk have already done enough to ravage the place where I come from. You've got your sacrifice from me," and is going to try to just move on past.
I like it. Let's do the revelation move. Name what you're afraid will happen if you fail here or lose your nerve.
I'm afraid that it's going to take that to offense as a slight, that the recognition of it and the looking down almost in like a acceptance that you are above me is not enough for it.
Interesting. I think it's worse than that. It is going to violently demand your penance. You can turn around and go back to the lumber processing plant, or you can roll ahead. It's going to be communion.
Communion?
Mhm.
Okay. I think making that way past, I'm going to go forward because it's important that we take care of it. We're here for a reason. We need to start showing that we are supposed to be here and doing good work. I'm going to be clutching that letter from home that says you are always welcome here. And having that as almost like a reverent, almost like a prayer card in of itself, that I am always welcome. I am always welcome where I need to go.
Nice. Rolled advantage if you're marking it.
Absolutely. Okay. -1 on communion. Bone dice? I think bone dice seem sufficient here. Okay. Okay. So that is a 4 and a 6, but a -1, so it's a 9.
Let's read the move. It says on a 7 to 9, you do it or hold steady, but there's a complication or cost. The keeper describes what it looks like. I think the complication or cost, I think you have to lose the letter. You have to erase the letter from your personal altar. Just describe or think about how you'll be able to continue forward in the scene, but what happens with the letter? Like, do the bugs take it? Do you destroy it? Whatever. Think about it. Let's cut back over to the Butter Princess. Let's talk about the Butter Princess. Wes, you're still in the spotlight. Tell me about the iconography here at the Butter Princess. Or the decor that stands out?
Well, it has a very like classic like Americana post-war like that kind of art style, that dot style almost. You see like the sign that has this resplendent yellow princess blonde with a 3-pointed crown, I believe, on it and everything. But inside, this is like a popular date spot, I think, with the giving in the prompt. And all around, it has like this kind of royal theme, but it's all made out of butter. You see like butter castle battlements. There's flags, there's standards on the walls that have plates of butter that are ready to be put on waffles and pancakes just sitting there. But there's a mural towards the back corner where it's a popular like this is where like you bring your date, you're gonna sit in this like corner booth and everything, and you see this woeful butter princess that has just been saved by another mascot, not just the butter princess herself, but a popular mascot from the menus and like the kids menus of this place of Sir Sago the Steadfast, this knight that has a spatula sword and a frying pan shield, and he's got a goatee, and like what that connects to, like it just looks like very Don Quixote-esque with the goatee mustache and like thick rimmed glasses that's standing and protecting her, and he's holding up the frying pan shield from flames, protecting her on this wall.
So the Butter Princess, there's a whole romantic chivalric tale here, which I think is really great. Keeping with the theme, I think the waiters and waitresses all wear like medieval, like kind of serving people, like tunics and tunics and maybe like little pointy princess hats and that kind of thing, right? Ladies in waiting, feathers, all that business. And I think one of the waiters comes up to the table the three of you are at, because you're all seated together for now. You can split off later. And the waiter says, "All hail the Butter Princess. Long may she reign. Can I take your order?" And Sedna, what's on the menu?
It's your, standard diner fare. Everything is deep fried, of course, and everything comes with a side of butter in case there's not enough butter on it. The special, though, there is a blessed butter special. The special contains, it's on a plate of deep fried beer, which is sort of like deep fried ravioli, but made from beer. It is a butter beer, of course, and it's topped with deep fried, locally fermented chitterling head cheese. The sauce, it's a rich butter sauce that you can drizzle all over it, and they give you a real big amount of it. And it is made from dairy produced by the princess herself, the butter princess. Of course, each order comes with a buttered blessing that you can keep with you or eat, depending on, what your choices are. It's extremely popular around here. Sedna's
I,
not going to order it.
I like the idea that the butter princess is actually is a saint of the chitterling and is in the basement of the restaurant.
Yeah, that's where the dairy comes from
Indeed,
to make the
indeed.
butter.
And Jasper, what's the local diner tradition? Does it have something to do with the butter princess and Sir Seiko?
Yes. Yes, it does actually. It is butter aside. I mean, who doesn't love classical, diner fare like eggs and whatnot? But even then, the eggs are probably like when you get them scrambled, they're very buttery. However, it is traditional that there's a fun little quirk that each plate at the Butter Princess comes with a little branded and prayer marked sword of Sago, which is like this little tiny cheap metal, like little, it's basically the size of a letter opener, but you are traditionally supposed to stab it into your poached eggs to let the yolks run free over the buttery toasts and potatoes.
I have a note there for you, Theo. Everyone is served a poached egg, whether you ordered it or not. And everyone has to stab into their poached egg. And Sedna and Jasper's egg is a regular orangey gold yolk. But yours is a blood red yolk, Theo, as you stab into it. And the waiter says, oh, congratulations, my friend. It seems you'll be playing the part of Sir Sago today.
What?
And it says, you have the red yolk. It is an emblem of the Butter Princess's love for Sir Sago. It's just a little thing we do. You just have to meet the Butter Princess and profess your love for her. It's all pantomime. You don't actually have to love her. And she's happy and keeps providing bounty for all.
All right.
Excellent. Well, until that time comes, what can I get you? And then she's, the waiter's taking orders. What rumor have you heard, Chaotic? I feel like the rumor is already kind of out there, but maybe there's more to it.
There is a second rumor. It's oddly considering like the fantastical elements of this place being knights in silver armor, and like you would think that the owner would be fantastical himself, but no, the rumor is that he always has butter on hand on his person. It's rumored that he just keeps it in his pockets.
Why would anyone eat at these places? I don't know. Let's get our journeys. Whoever wants to do the journey move, let's get that set up now. Sedna and Jasper, I assume the two of you are going to journey move together for condition clearing purposes.
Yes.
Theo, do you want to do a little? Do you want to go fulfill your voluntold obligation here? Or?
Yeah. Like I gotta do that. Like
that sounds good.
Like I also want to see this Butter Princess.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? So you finish your meal. Theo goes off to do this little tradition.
Jasper looks a little put out, where he after it just like solemnly says under his breath at one point, he goes, "I wanted the red yolk." I've never gotten the red yolk before.
So the two of you are now alone. Roleplay.
Do you think Theo knows I don't have a license?
You don't have a license? I mean, I don't have a license either, so that's not really a statement to be judging of, but really, you don't. You seem like... I don't know how to express that. You seem like someone who would have a license. And now that I'm saying it out loud, it's a lot stranger and more confusing than I thought it would be.
Well, I mean, I think I'm doing a pretty good job driving.
I haven't noticed anything wrong.
I don't really
Then
know what
again,
the speed limit is, but I'm feeling really good. So I don't think we're going to get caught. I think it's going to be great.
I do believe they're more of speed suggestions, hard to enforce this far out apart from the occasional investigatory peoples on the road. I don't think you're going to be in any trouble for going the speed with which you think you should be going.
Right, exactly. And I think if there's something very strange about Sedna right now, her hair is pulled back into a ponytail, and she is wearing like a light pink shirt and a sort of frilly green skirt. It's very colorful.
Sedna, are you feeling all right?
I'm feeling fantastic. You know, it's been a really long time since I've really, I mean, I'm always kind of driven to solve these problems that we have, you know, to deal with these gods, but I'm feeling like really good about it right now. How
Yes,
about you? You're looking really good today.
Oh, thank you, first of all. I'm feeling... Oh, I felt better. Let's
You know
just
what?
say.
You should tell me all about it. I really love, you know, sometimes, not all the time, but right now I feel like I'm really invested in the way that you tell stories and tell things about yourself.
Why, thank you. I appreciate your kind words. I enjoy telling stories and presenting tales to those who would listen, and it is nice to know that there are those who are listening aside from the only ones who normally listen.
Can I just say that bowl of cereal really did a number on Sedna?
Yeah.
It's
I
the
mean,
most important meal of the day. It gets you started right.
well, vex me after being requested to speak. Of course, now I have a lack of ideas in my head. What about me would you like to know about? What would you like me to talk about, Sedna?
Jason, what was the prompt for this again?
Oh, the prompt.
I
I mean, you can talk about anything you want, but the prompt is if you want to go that route, recall a time. Where was the last place you went on a date?
Finch, why don't you tell me about your last date? Where did you go?
Oh my, you don't wish to know the affairs of my romantic dramas? It's really nothing much to report on, unfortunately. I've always been one married to the stage, and the more, let's call them, dalliances in free time betwixt art is not exactly the most, I haven't had the most fortunate history there. So, very well. Forgive me, it's been a number of years since my last date. I have not had much time or interest in what one might call romance. I need to think about this. He has search his mind for a moment as he is idly tearing at a napkin that he's picked up and just kind of laying the strips out in front of him. He says, I believe the last date I went on was in Glottage a few years back.
Such a romantic place too.
Certainly a word for it. Unless I'm gravely mistaken, I believe the date was at a park. I don't remember the name of the park. It's one of those places that really was a lot that became a park at some point. But it was a starlit evening in fine autumnal air, crisp and bracing. And I was feeding the pigeons and idly discussing matters of craft with the young individual with which I was spending time with. I also don't remember her name, forgive me. Like I said, it was a first date. We were mutual acquaintances of a figure of some renown in the district. I
Oh,
won't
exciting.
go into that. Yes, it was. I wouldn't say it was an arranged affair, nor was it blind, but it was simply uh, pushed along with a bit of insistence. And
Was there a second date?
she thought so.
Oh, well, I'm sure it was still fun.
Did Jasper ghost this girl?
Well, you see, during our first date, I lended to her some of my more appreciated works as we had gotten on the topic of the theater and finer plays after all that business with the Amago War so a generation ago. I feel as if the society I grew up in was less appreciative of the arts as the one that came before. Of course, I wouldn't know. I didn't grow up before the Amago conflict, but there was a sense of art was dying, or at least in the depths of poverty that most people find themselves in but aren't willing to recognize. And on this topic, I spoke of some plays I was quite fond of, and I lent her some copies. And my visit to get those copies back was, in her mind, a second date, whereas for me, it was picking up the belongings I wanted back. Yes. Yes, it did not go well.
I've never
I
been on a date, so that seems,
really
pretty good.
that surprises me, Sedna. You have such a charming personality normally.
Really?
Yes,
I
but
think
anyway,
that's the first
but
time anyone's said that.
as I was saying about me, um, it was interesting though, if you wish to know the truth about this woman. She was, by all accounts, kind and in her own way beautiful, but she had a fraught existence. She was very zealous in a way that frightened me and a way that made me wish for different company entirely.
Ah.
It is interesting how she had gone so quickly from her day job in the district to the embrace of an evening stroll through the starlit streets. She worked at one of the many abattoirs in Western Glottage.
Well, she sounds
Not,
very nice.
I'm sure the animals in her care would disagree, but to me, she was more than nice. It's fascinating, though, when you think about it, how easily one can go from the blood upon their hands to sharing the tender touch of another with no haunting details left behind from that void of sacrifice. Sorry, I'm
Void of sacrifice.
waxing.
That's not usually what people, use to describe dates.
No. I meant her. Never mind. Anyway, but yes, that's, like I said, not worth much talking about. I don't have the most interesting life.
We'll come back to this. Theo, you're being led outside. There is a cellar door entrance. The video keeps freezing.
Yeah.
There's a cellar door entrance that the manager of the place takes you to. You can see a little bit of like blossoming oily stains in his coat pockets. And he says, "Oh, thank you for doing this. As you probably know, every Butter Princess location has its own Butter Princess on site. Not the original Butter Princess, of course, but they all have the sort of ancestral memory of the Butter Princess, and every now and then they have to receive a visit from their Sir Sago, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
It's very simple. Just nod and affirm whatever she says to you, and if she asks you to give her a loving embrace, come up with a good excuse to avoid that if you can. You want to avoid the embrace of the Butter Princess.
Well, what happens when you get embraced with the Butter Princess?
Oh, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And he unlocks the cellar door, slings it open, crashes the door open, and says, and you're immediately hit by this just incredibly greasy, oily smell wafting up from the cellar. It has the smell of oily, like, yeah, like of just like rancid butter, but also it has the smell of like kind of soured milk. And he says, he calls down, "Milady, Milady, Sir Sago has returned." Okay, go down. Just
I'm going down. I don't say anything, but I'm
just soothing platitudes. That's it.
Yeah.
Soothing platitudes.
Okay.
And yeah, you can go down.
Yeah, I'm going down.
You get down. As you're coming down the stairs, you can tell that the cellar is lit, but you can't see what it illuminates yet as you're going down the stairs. But you hear the Butter Princess. She says, "Is that my beloved? Is that my betrothed? My beautiful, gallant Sir Sago?"
Yes, it is.
"Please come closer,
Mhm.
so that I might gaze upon your dashing visage once more." As you get to the bottom of the stairs, I assume you go down to the bottom of
Yeah.
the stairs, you see the Butter Princess. She is barely recognizable as a person. Her body is bloated beyond all natural proportion. And like a cow with udders, she has multiple naked breasts hanging off of it. And there are plastic tubes and pipes connected to her. And you can see fluids being pumped out of her, various shades, all the way from milky white to creamy yellow to vivid orange, like cheddar cheese, all pumping out of her. You can't even see her legs, and her arms look comically small on her body. I would like for you to make the revelation move to stay down here. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
Oh, I'm going to run away because this terrifies me, because this is not the first time I've seen something like this, and I have very personal feelings about this.
It's worse than that. It turns out you've stumbled into a trap. They intend to keep you down here.
Oh no.
Do go ahead and roll with, I think I'm going to let you roll with vitality.
Ah.
And you're exhausted, which is a physical condition, so it doesn't affect you, I guess. So yeah, you can just roll regular dice.
That is an 8.
An 8. We'll come back to this. Pele, give us your scene with the Seething Lord.
There's this chittering and clacking of these bugs moving all together, this form. Pele keeps their head down as they move past, almost reverently, respectfully, clutching that letter when there's a grip, a biting sensation into Pele's arm. And there's a moment where seething anger comes from, like, a look of just like plain nothingness to seething anger as Pele looks back at this lord, if it can so be called such. And there's a buzzing sound that fills Pele's ears. and it holds steadfast. And Pele tries to tug away. And then the bugs start crawling up Pele's arm, almost enveloping him. In Pele, there's almost like a small panic in Pele's chest as this hand is clutching this letter, and this minor bug god is holding on to Pele's arm that's clutching the letter, and Pele just remembers there's one thing, surefire way to get bugs away from you, and is that they're scared of light. And so with just like a grimace and just intense anger, Pele pulls out a lighter and just lights the letter on fire, and it catches in just like a flash, and the bugs buzz away real quick, and he waves it, and it's just it doesn't take long. It caught fire quickly, but it was enough for Pele to just drop it and then run. And just run and run and run. And even though their lungs are burning, they don't stop until they see this building.
Nice, thank you. Jasper and Sedna. Sedna, I think you're probably keeping the jolly condition, right? But Jasper, would you have cleared one of your conditions?
I think I will clear fungal spores.
Mm-hmm.
The air out here is, it's easier to breathe, clearing out those lungs.
Mm-hmm.
All
Sounds
that
good.
talking helped too, I'm sure.
Yeah, expelling,
Love that. And Sedna, you can stumble on a clue or invite Jasper to ask you a question about the past.
I'm so tempted to invite a question, but we really need some clues, so I'm going to do clues.
All right, think about what your clue is. Do you want anything else in this scene, or are you both good to go?
I'm good.
Just for clarification, I can stumble upon a clue for any of the mysteries because we're in the journey phase, right?
Yes, correct.
Cool.
Yeah. Theo, you will succeed. You do it or hold steady. There is a complication or cost. I'll describe what it looks like. I think, since we're all making non-consensual sacrifices today, I think you have to no, that's okay. I've changed my mind. I think I'm going to just, as you are scrambling to get away and get out of the cellar, I think you are going to just, you're going to fall out of the cellar onto the ground. Like as you come up the top step, you're going to trip and you're going to scratch up your leg. So I'm just going to give you like scratched up leg, but you're otherwise able to get away. The manager says, what's the matter? Don't you want to go see your beloved?
I don't. There's rules about these types of things.
I assure you, Butter Princess has got all the proper documentation needed for the maintenance of a saint on the premises. We have met all requirements that have been laid out by, and he kind of goes on and on, right?
Yeah. You keep her down there by herself. She doesn't see other people. And you feed her sacrifices of unsuspecting people.
Of course not.
I'm going to grab him by like
Preposterous.
his shirt collar.
Yeah. And I think you might see like the Butter Princess moving down to the base of the stairs, or at least part of her, right? As she moves, she makes a sound that's like a combination of like plaintive cries for her love, but also like the lowing of a cow as she sort of slides down around there. And I think he's trying to he's trying to fight you to toss you down the stairs. Like he's struggling. What do you do?
I'm going to try to push him down the stairs because like I know sort of the rituals that can bind a saint into place. So I'm trying to effectively free the Butter Princess. So
I'll just
yeah.
let you throw him down the stairs, and whatever happens, happens. I would like, who wants to describe what sounds Theo hears after slamming the cellar door closed that suggests the manager's fate?
Well, I can contribute slurping sounds. Like
That might be enough. I don't know. Maybe there's more. In any case, you're good, Theo. It looks like they're going to have to find a new manager for this location of the Butter Princess. What's your clue that you found, Sedna?
As we are driving down the road, and I'm very happily listening to Finch describe his failed dating experiences, we pass by a roadside tea cellar, just like a little pop-up roadside store, I suppose. And they're selling teas from the warehouse, from the place that we were investigating for. I don't know if we ever got a name for it.
We never
but
named the little community, no.
yeah, but it's obviously from there because there are two people actually selling tea at this stand, and they both look exactly identically as if they're the exact same person, like the person who died.
Oh, very interesting. Okay. I like that. Pele.
Ooh, I can't remember who that was.
I don't know if we ever named the guy. He was just a guy that was down in the
Yeah.
just kind of wandered in and got killed by Pele. Pele. The meat processing plant. There are distant feedlots and warehouses behind barbed wire fencing, and trucks adorned with commercial prayer stamps of the chitterling can be seen, droning machinery interrupted by the occasional squeal, and of course that visceral aroma of manure, blood, and chemicals. I don't think anyone will stop you if you walk into the factory. In fact, it's an answer to the question I'm about to pose, which is, how is it obvious that this facility operates with little oversight? That's for everyone to answer. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Typically in what you see in meat processing plants, that there's an order to things. It is the product arrives and is offloaded off the trailers. I'm trying to keep this as not specific as possible for people. The product is offloaded and herded into the building. They are kept and stored. They are then dealt with so that they can be used for processing. And then the processing occurs, the cleaning and processing occurs, separated, packaged, shipped out. It is thanks to the great God, Henry Ford, and all of his wonderful creations that he's bestowed upon us, is that there's an order of operations to make it most efficient. That is not seen here. It is bedlam. It is people are dropping stuff off, just whatever, roadkill, whatever kind of stuff, selling stuff just to get some kind of compensation to get food for their table, not even thinking that maybe they could just hunt and just but it's just like, this has been so established, this is what you do. And there are just people just doing the stunning and just right there. There's no form or function to it. It's just a free for all. It looks like.
This is for Hopworth, right? The plant.
Yeah, the
Gotcha.
processing
Yeah.
plant, yeah.
So, there is OSHA doesn't exist in this world, obviously, but there is a lack of like railings on like walkways that like catwalks underneath like the actual like floors and like production areas of the processing facility, that like the sheer number of like workers in here, like clearly no one's like supervising proper like safe like navigation of the walkways over the processing plant. Like people just move and like this person has this job to go do, so they're moving with haste, but then this person's going the other way with haste, and like there is no like sense of like traffic or like safety. It's like people just going left, right, and center trying to fulfill their tasks with no one there to make sure that like they don't congest.
The one thing that is there to ensure that people are going to do their jobs is that all the doors outside, all the ways, all the exits, they're locked during shifts. People are not allowed to leave. So there is definitely no supervision from a safety standpoint, because that's extremely dangerous, but got to make these people work somehow.
The closest thing that we could consider to be supervision is just people checking the meats to make sure it's all the right type of meat and not people meat. Sometimes there's accidents. And you just need to make sure you remove the missing fingers from time to time.
Never eat anything in the world of the Silt versus role-playing game. Just don't eat. It is the right move, unless it's cereal.
Nothing hits the spot better than long pig.
Exactly. Let's so we've got you there, Pele. So Pele, what's your approach here?
Pele probably knows that talking to the people isn't going to get him anywhere. They all seem to be busy and everything like that. Kind of the same way of that warehouse in Glottage. Pele wants to look around the fringes and see if there are any signs of nesting, or if something has been feeding, those claw marks that we saw before, like any kind of signs of that. Yeah.
Yeah, do the information move with I guess it'd probably be insight.
Got it. Perfect. All right. That is a 6.
A 6. Okay.
I am going to write a verse though, because we need clues.
well, you might get one. I mean, who knows?
Okay.
I'll narrate first. See. You can decide.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this though.
Got it.
Jasper, Sedna. Jasper and Sedna, you drop off Theo. Theo, you are now back at the Hungering Roots assignment. Sedna and Jasper, you've gone off to the market. We'll pick up with Theo in a bit. The floating market is, all the barges and things are still there, but it's all closed right now. There's no activity because it's a nighttime market, though there might still be a few people kind of milling around, workers and stuff. Jasper, what do you do?
Taking just like a survey of the area real quick, like what kind of like places like jump out to me.
Okay, sure. Let's see. We've already pointed out Speedy Supplications. You know where that is. Let's talk about Revel Among the Ruins. This one stands out because it's basically decorated like a garish carnival booth, perched on a dilapidated tugboat, and grinning painted mouths encircle twin window stalls, though one of the windows is boarded up. That definitely stands out. So that might be worth poking your nose into. Sedna, what about you?
Well, if you know what, I kind of want to go poking around in the Speedy Supplications place that I started looking into
Before
the
you
day
got
before,
distracted.
but then
Yeah.
things happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. And Theo, you are back at the Hungering Roots assignment. you can see that I think when you arrive, the police, followers of the cloak, are just kind of wrapping up the crime scene. It's been a couple days, and I think they've got everything they need, and so your timing is really good here. Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, I don't want to go back to the crime scene for starters, because I think that would be like a bit
It
of a
would be
tip off.
a bit of tip off, yeah.
Yeah, so like I actually want to find Pickles, the
Oh,
cat,
interesting.
that weird saint.
I'm also curious, like, what are the implications? Maybe not like you don't have to answer this, but it's something we should think about. Like, I'm curious about the implications of you being one with writhes beneath the loam, a mushroom god, a fungus god, and now you are on the territory of this harvest god, and how those two things might or might not interact. So it's interesting. Finding Pickles shouldn't be any trouble, though. That all sounds good. We know where we're at in time and space. Let's take a 5-minute break. Pele, I think you discovered that the reason why you were allowed to walk about the processing plant more or less unfettered is because there are people here already who don't normally belong. Researchers, perhaps. They definitely look cleaner and more official than the workers at the processing plant. And you're approached by one of these people. The person who approaches you has jet black hair, eyes that are deep and yielding, and they have an intricate tapestry of prayer mark tattoos seemingly all over their body, though it's a little bit hard to tell because of the sort of like coat that they wear, which looks to be kind of like a well, they're wearing like a coat that's emblazoned with the emblem of the Institute for Theological Research and Innovation, which is a very well-funded advisory board in the territories, dictating which faiths are legitimate and which are not. This person comes up to you and introduces themselves. Hello, I'm Dr. Ishrakaro.
Hello, Doctor. My name is Pele Kessel.
Yes, Mr. Kessel. I've seen you around. You work for the Bureau, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we're not entirely at odds with one another then in our work. In fact, I'd say our work sort of swims in the same direction. He says, I too am somewhat interested by what's going on here in Weft, though perhaps for reasons different from your own. Oh, sorry. In case you didn't notice, I work for the Institute for Theological Research and Innovation, sometimes called the Farragut Institute. We're here in Weft investigating a number of rumored stray deities in the area. We try to do our best to catalog and categorize these deities whenever we find them. What would you make of this? And he holds up what is going to be a clue. You get a clue despite your miss. It's a severed pig's foot. But around the wound, you see what is clearly fungal spore dust. It says, it's a curious detail. I've seen these fungal spores all over the area. There's something in the woods. Stray god, no doubt. Is that the stray god that the Bureau is here looking into? Or is there another one I should be aware of?
Gods.
Say that again, Wes. You broke up briefly.
Gods. Stray gods.
Ah, indeed.
More than one.
Does this have something to do with the skeleton family and their angel?
It could. Tell me, Doctor, you seem a bit peckish.
Do I?
Can I offer you a cereal bar?
No, I think not. I know that you are a follower of Sweet Jolly Crunch Tooth, and, well, as much as I have no particular aversion to the teachings of your faith, I don't have much of a sweet tooth myself.
It's a shame, because as we know, breakfast is the most important part of the day, but I see that you're more of a poultry and fruit consumer.
Well, what I like to eat is neither here nor there.
Hmm.
He says, you and the other custodians have been making a little bit of a wave here in Weft.
I prefer to do things more discreetly, but my associates have other means of getting the job done.
Your poxmonk setting up a little makeshift clinic in the home of the Stewart family, I believe. That's certainly
Yes.
the kind of thing that draws attention.
Well, our poxmonk is a big believer in philanthropy and giving back to the community.
Right, no doubt, no doubt. Did you happen to notice anything strange in that household?
Just a sick child with concerned parents.
Yeah. All right. Well, I better get back to it. We've got to. It looks like whatever's out here, no one's really anxious to worship it. So once we've cataloged it, that's where it will end. I myself am actually a big advocate for licensing these sort of smaller faiths.
Categorizing them, making sure that there is proper oversight.
Well, our mission is to document emergent divinities at every level, maintaining an extensive database of the safest and most reliable approaches to modern worship across the territories. Careful categorization of lawful deities is a key element in the preservation of our region's history and culture, don't you think?
Completely agree.
Hmm.
Can I give you a little tip? Let's just say, let me cut out the middleman and the hotline and get right to the ear of the Bureau, or the investigatory board, pardon me. On the way here in the Clutching Woods, I came across a bug-related minor deity, or maybe an angel of sorts. Who's to say, but it seemed very particularly in want of something. It bites.
Seems our list of stray deities to investigate in Weft grows longer by the moment.
Don't worry. The skeletons will be taken care of, so you don't have to worry about them at all. You can focus on more pressing matters in town.
No, it was very nice to meet you, Kessel.
Not you.
And he says, before I go, where are the rest of the custodians? Weren't there four
Out.
of you?
There are 4 of us. They're out performing their duties, much like I have to do mine.
And here, you'll notice he's been kind of like fingering a little talisman around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
You might even recognize what he has around his neck. It's a prayer mark for a personal rhetorical god, the kinds of gods that have been outlawed for many years because they're incredibly dangerous gods. They allow you to posed questions that can cause the listener to question their motives and allegiances. He says, wouldn't it be prudent for all of us government-connected entities to be working together? And in that spirit, shouldn't you tell me where the rest of your companions have gone? And here I want the revelation move.
Okay.
You are being influenced to answer the question.
Okay.
What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail to resist?
I'm afraid that I will divulge information not even related to the investigation. I'll just start divulging stuff.
I think it's worse than that. You will confess to murdering the worker in Blottage.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll with focus.
That's a 6. 2 and a 3 plus 1.
Indeed. We'll come back to this. Jasper, are you going to investigate the weird carnival tugboat?
I would love to.
What's your approach here? What are you going to do?
So it's daytime, so it's not like active, right? It's like because it's the night market, or is it like
It's not open. No.
okay, yeah. Then I think
because it's daytime.
Are there
It's
people?
late in the day, but it's still daytime.
Yeah. Are there people around the boat, like are on the boat, or is it like seemingly just totally abandoned?
Seems pretty quiet right now. I mean, there might be people in the tugboat, but on the outside, it's hard to tell from the outside.
Yeah, I think Jasper just walks up. I mean, like, he just saunters, onto it because honestly, if you look like you belong somewhere, most people will not bat their eye. He just is gonna go check it out, and he'll improvise.
The stall is called Revel Among Ruins, inspired gifts for all occasions. It is a garish carnival booth, perched on a dilapidated tugboat. There are these grinning painted mouths around the window stalls, one of which is boarded up. A handwritten list of wares is nailed to the outer wall. Items include a range of gifts for children and adults alike, such as hallowed toy soldiers, collectible saint cards, Jolly Crunch Tooth treats, saintly spark kits, a My First Ritual knife set, confessor costumes, prayer mark tracing books, Dreamweaver lollipops, a portable Madam Light radio lantern, forgotten idols, packaged with a child-sized hammer for smashing, and various mass-produced plastic icons of licensed deities. Let's paint the scene, everyone. What does Jasper notice that would make one suspect that this shop is a vendor for illicit goods?
There's also a menu that you can select items from. It doesn't really describe what the items are, but they all have really mundane names, which really stands out in a place like this. Things like chocolate bar or bag of crisps or number 2 lead HB pencils, pack of 10.
It's a subtle detail, but you know, the front of the counter is not like dusty, but there are signs indicative that it's like it's not as trafficked as the side door is. Like, you can tell there's a like just from like the amount of like foot activity like on the ground, like the scuff marks and just the weathering of like the wood, and just people are more active going around back to this place than they are to the front of it.
Towards like the front of it, there is just like a lot of those spinner stands and just like shelving, and it seems to be almost a barrier from like actually entering into the store proper. It's as though it's just a bunch of flashy attention to just draw your eye there and not elsewhere.
There's a glass container. We've all been to antique stores and other places like that keep like important knickknacks that are expensive behind them. But this one has fishing lures. They seem handcrafted, but they're awfully expensive. And they're just sitting there. And it says on the label, fishing lures, guaranteed for a bite every time.
I feel like there should be a god there, like the some god of like casting
Yeah.
rods.
Yeah. He who reels and rods.
There we go. Yeah, that's good.
Arc upon the wind.
Yeah.
Arc upon the wood. That's good.
Good. Yeah. Fantastic.
So
Jasper, what do you do?
I think it's perched on top of a tugboat. Does the tugboat look like there are like other like like there are parts of it like other like rooms and like below decks kind of thing?
You could go in. You'd be sneaking in, but you could go in.
Yeah, I think he like peeks his head into the booth proper, like looks like looks inside what's there, but decides to just saunter elsewhere into the tugboat and see where fortune carries him.
Make the information move with focus.
Sounds good. I got 2 fun conditions, empty and unsettled. Any of those factoring in? Nah.
I'm
All
fine.
right. I want to roll bad so I can mark verses. I've been doing too good as Jasper. That is a 9.
Okay. I'll give you a clue. We'll come back over to Sedna. Sedna, Speedy Supplications is there. You see it's a tent, but the tent has been closed up and is indeed, like locked. Well, like the flaps of the tent are bound together, so you can't just walk right in. What do you do?
I would like to go up really close to the tent and just sort of listen to see if there's anybody in there, if I can hear anything
interesting.
before I,
I like
try
that.
anything.
Make the information move with focus.
That is an 11.
Nice. I owe you a clue as well. Theo, you're looking for pickles. For what purpose?
Well, I need to talk to someone about like what has changed since we have last been here, and since Pickles can pretty much move about pretty freely because he is a cat. As well as Pickles will probably not try to get me arrested. So that there's that as well.
I think you see a little boy playing in the courtyard. He's wearing a salvaged military jacket, and he is playing with Pickles. And yeah, that's what you see. What do you do?
I'm just gonna go walk on up with them. Hello there.
The boy looks up and says, "Oh, hi."
I've heard about the 2 of you from a few days ago. You are Lucas, and your companion is Pickles.
And then Pickles gives you a very distinctly uncat-like, suspicious glance. It's very human, a very human-like expression from a cat. And Lucas says, "Yep, that's us."
Yes, my friend Jasper. It's been a while since we've been back here. Has anything really changed around here?
Well, apart from the murder?
Apart from the murder.
He's like, well, I mean, I guess not, or I don't know.
Mhm.
Go ahead and make the information move with, I guess it's just presence.
Mhm. Oh no, that's a 6. I do want to spend a verse.
Oh, hold on. Everyone's anxious to spend verses, but wait, let me narrate my thing. You might not
Okay.
want to. Pele, you may want to. We'll see. Pele, you just begin spilling. You begin spilling your guts. You begin talking about how Jasper and Sedna are actually at the floating market. Theo is back at the Grow facility and the associated neighborhood east of Glottage. You're kind of saying all that, and then when pressed, you just come right out and say why you can't go back to Glottage because you killed a guy and hid him in the basement. Where, by the way, they also have a shrine to their harvest god down there as well. And when it's all said and done, Dr. Caro says, well, that's very interesting, Pele. I, of course, am inclined to keep your secret. I understand that sometimes you have to do things, unsavory things, in order to fulfill your mission. No one understands that better than me. But I do think that given this information I have about you, well, let's just say I do have the ability to make your life extremely difficult, given that you're a murderer and everything. And from time to time, I might call upon you to do things for me. Just as thanks for not making your life extremely difficult. Do you catch my meaning?
See, here's where I'm at a crux at I'm at a crossroads for a decision. Because A, I could just work a verse and just get this B out of my bonnet.
You could.
B, that's dramatically cool.
Mm,
And Pele being in having to owe favors to, yeah, fuck it, we ball, let's do it. Like Pele's just going to look at this, probably looking down at this person, this doctor.
I'm going to give you a condition under Dr. Caro's thumb.
Good.
He says, so it seems we're in agreement.
I feel that that is more than satisfactory for penance of my misdeeds, though sometimes the ends justify the means.
Excellent. And he says, well, since you're here, one of your colleagues is currently engaged in non-consensual communion with a fungal god that we have cataloged here in the clutching woods of Weft. I was wondering if you might, well, and he gives you, or they give you, their gender is never specified, they give you a little vial of clear fluid. What would you say about making sure this gets injected into your colleague?
I would say that though it is going to happen, because this is a favor you've asked upon me, and I am in your debt, I would be remiss not to ask what would happen to Theo. Is it just an expunging of this influence, or is it a expunging of Theo from this world?
Happily, it is neither. At the Institute, yes, we do engage in the careful categorization of lawful deities in order to preserve a region's history and culture. But also, this incredible amount of data allows us to make pivotal investments in breakthrough worship technologies in service of public health security. One such technology is, well, we like to we're currently in a very, very interesting place, doing some very interesting things when it comes to the creation of saints. Imagine if you could cut out the god altogether and go straight to creating your own saints. That would be really something, wouldn't it?
Just right off the shelf, right to your own home.
For public safety purposes, of course, and occasional military use, but that's way above my pay grade.
Of course, you just research and develop. You don't determine practices.
He says, I have no intention of being a destroyer of worlds. And he presses the fluid into your hand. It's very nice to meet you, Pele Kessel.
It's very nice to meet you as well, Dr. Caro. I look forward to letting you know when it is done.
And he says, good luck with your bird, Angel.
And as the doctor walks away, just Pele holding the vial, just goes, cunt.
Indeed. Good scene.
Okay.
Let's go back over to the others. Jasper, you got a mid result, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about let's give you a clue first thing.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you'll notice when you peek inside the booth is a citation that has been kind of tossed aside. It's a citation for distribution of unlicensed goods of theologically unstable condition. Who was it issued to? Presumably this vendor, but you can add that context later if you need to. And then the complication is the owner of this Revel Among Ruins is watching you.
Watching me?
Watching you, but you're unaware of it.
Oh. Fascinating.
I'm going to give you marked by Kaz. K-A-Z.
You know, as fun as that is, I do need an excuse to mark a verse, especially this late into a session. So I should write a verse for Jasper since I haven't done that yet.
I'm into it.
And I want to, yeah. Kaz can fuck off. I'm gonna write the first verse of history.
Sounds good. Be thinking on it. Sedna.
Oh, I have it ready to go whenever. So
you got a good result, Sedna. Remind me how you were investigating, Sedna. You were just kind of looking around the tent, or
I was.
Or you're listening.
To the
You're
tent
listening.
to
That's
see if
right.
there's anything or any sound coming from within.
Yeah. You're listening. I love that. An overheard phrase spoken by someone in the tent. Better to drown it than me. That's your clue.
Wow.
The rest is inaudible, or at least you can't make it out.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those times where they just happen to be turned at the exact right angle.
Yeah,
to-
exactly. And their voice, they spoke up. Better to drown it than me. And then that's that.
Well, I'm gonna skedaddle because I can't get in there if there's somebody in there. It's a small tent.
What was your die result?
11.
11. Okay, you didn't get 12. All right.
I want a 12, sadly.
It's okay. Well, maybe there's times for a 12 to come. Theo, you got a miss.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let me take a look at the dangers here and see if something might rear its head. Oh, I know exactly who rears her head. Didn't you go into the apartment with Sedna, Patricia's
Yes.
apartment? You did, yeah. Patricia
Oh,
is on the railing in front of her apartment from the second floor of the tenement building, looking down to the courtyard, and she points, and Donald Sutherland in Invasion of the Body Snatchers style, like kind of cries out,
yeah.
"There they are! There they are!" And suddenly other people are coming out of their flats. There's other people milling around. She's yelling loud enough for people over at the processing facility to start to kind of take notice. Your surreptitious entree into this re-entry into this mystery or this assignment is not going well. What do you do?
I am going to write a verse.
Very good. So I owe you a clue instead.
Mhm.
Okay, none of that happens. Lucas says, "Yeah, I mean, Pickles and I, we like to look around and I don't know. I think it's interesting to watch people when they can't see you. It's kind of exciting, I guess. I don't know. Is it weird to be excited by something like that?
No, I wouldn't say so. You get to learn how people truly are when they don't think that anyone's watching.
Yeah, that's true. This is, well, I guess I've seen a few things around here. I mean, they're always busy with the big garden in that building over there.
Mhm.
But there are little gardens everywhere. Things just grow where they want to. He says, "I found something, but and he kind of gets a little nervous. Maybe you can help me with it."
Of course.
And here, he's going to ask you to follow him.
Okay.
So your clue is, the complication with the clue is you're going to have to go on a little bit of a reconnaissance mission a bit with Lucas, who does see and know many things.
Mhm.
Let's check in with Pele. So Pele, actually, let's check in with the assignments at this point, because we have more clues now. You've got a decent 7, soon to be 7 for the Hungering Roots, which is a good number depending on which question you're going to answer. And you've got 6 for the Dusk Mother. Do we want to try to have a go at some of these questions or what?
We probably
I
should.
have a framework for an idea for the Dusk Mother so that can fit all of these clues into it.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Which
Which question?
which question?
What purpose drives the angel?
I don't know. I'd rather fucking destroy this thing.
Like I'm very excited about the move. That's the thing. I
That's
fair.
my
Is
thing.
the
The
thing, the move.
move.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. I won't naysay that.
Yeah.
Well, tell us your
Yeah.
answer, your theory.
Birds are very territorial creatures. They maintain their nests and they keep other birds, even of their same ilk species, away from that said area. Looking at the trees with deep gouge marks, a tooth with feathers growing out of it, like all of this stuff into it. What if this angel mother is establishing territory around the area to keep out this fungal spore god?
Oh.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What if it's also turning the other skeletons into angels, so to speak, as a way to protect this forest, the clutching woods, from it's kind of that thing of like when you think of like revolutionary fighters, guerrilla fighters, that kind of thing of like, what's the best way to get the invader out? We have to start using the invader's tricks against him. We have to start developing ourselves. We have to do things that we would not do to protect ourselves. And so I wonder if that's that motherly instinct is like, the fight or flight, we have to go all the way in to keep this fungal spore from infecting the pigs and everything like that.
I mean, I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've been wondering the whole time, like, what was the connection between Writhes Beneath the Loam and the Dusk Mother, right? Like, why it figures so prominently in the assignment, but we don't really know if there's a connection. That's your job, is to figure out that connection. And so I like that very much. I think that accounts for 3 of your 6 clues. What do we think about these other clues? The squirrel, the newspaper clippings, and the wind chimes.
I mean, going back to using what we used before for free, I mean, we know that like the Sir Dash of the board was the classroom mascot for the abandoned for the nest. So I think this kind of slowly feeds back into this sense of like protection. It just like the regionality context also plays into like the angels like desires and drives.
I mean,
so it's just like
It explicitly just draws the lines of like where the angel's territory is at and where the Rise Beneath the Loam's territory.
I mean, gods in
growing.
this world are very regional and influenced by their environment. So I mean, like, goes the same for angels, I'm sure. Like having those clues that contextualize, it's set in an abandoned factory or brick factory that was turned into a classroom that's now abandoned. Like it's additional like environmental detail for explaining why it's like this and what it does.
Yeah, I like it. I think that accounts for the newspaper clippings as well.
I think the wind chimes, I mean, they're obviously there so that people in the area can. I mean, this bird is huge. This thing is big, so when it beats its wings, the wind picks up. So I think it's not just a warning that this bird is around, and you probably shouldn't go outside. But I think also maybe if the spores are being transported by wind.
It's a dual purpose warning system, but I think also I see where you're kind of going to. We can take like that warning system of like the winds kicking up the spores or stay inside, but also a lamb's blood above the doorway of a sorts. This is a home that is in support of this.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Of the Dusk Mother. It's a sign that it's like
of allegiance. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
In addition to being a warning system, a high spore day, right?
High spore day. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
If this, the fungal spores are sort of encroaching on the Dusk Mother's area, then I imagine the people inside probably want to know when things are going to be bad and not to go
It's a good theory. It's a great theory. It accounts for all the clues. It's actually pretty straightforward at the end of the day, which I think is probably the right move here.
Unusual for us.
Yeah, it's a 6 complexity, and you've got 6 clues accounted for. So go ahead and roll it, Wes. See how it goes.
Yoki.
So scared.
That's an 11.
11.
Oh,
All right.
5 and 6.
Very good. Correct. You can now resolve the assignment by freeing the angel from the skeleton family and showing it something else it can protect instead. A forest landmark, a group of wild creatures, a dangerous place, or secret in need of a guardian. Maybe like that family with their saint in the basement. And you have also unlocked a special move, the Dusk Mother's Embrace. Let me take a look at that because you might get access to it right away. The Dusk Mother's Embrace.
We just send her to the fucking Butter Princess just to be the like Queen Regent of the Butter Princess.
The Dusk Mother's Embrace, you get this once you're done, once you've made this pact with the Dusk Mother Angel. But basically, when you use a prayer mark to call upon the angel that watches over wild and lonely places, state the thing you seek protection from and roll communion. On a hit, a veil of twilight feathers envelops you and obscures you from immediate danger. Then, on a 7 to 9, choose 1. On 10 plus, choose 2. You learn something useful about the danger that threatens you. I'll tell you what it is. You are soothed by the mother's embrace. Change an existing condition to embrace of the mother, or add this condition if you have no conditions. Or finally, nothing is asked of you in return. It's a cool move. I'll clip it here, the text at least. But yeah, once you've done this, then you'll have access to this move. So yeah, I mean, is this what you want to do for the rest of your session here, Pele? Is kind of get the Dusk Mother to
commune with the Dusk Mother and see if we can come to an agreement.
An agreement here, yeah.
Pele is the most fitting person to do this, considering all that you've done with the skeletons.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're probably the most
essentially an honorary skeleton, you know.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I like it.
Hey, that's family. All right.
Let's check in on the other characters. I can't remember where we left everyone. So, Theo, you were about to get a clue. So that's great. Why don't we do that now? So you're going to get a clue for the Hungering Roots. I said that it's going to be a clue where you're going to have to go on a little kind of a little hunt, which I think is great for Lucas. And no, I'm going to keep it real simple. I mean, it's still in the spirit of what I had in mind. But basically, he takes you to a quiet corner of the facility where there is a heavy compost bin, padlocked, spray painted with the words, "Do not open," and the urgent addition, "ever." That's your clue, but you have to give it meaning when you get ready to confront this question by basically opening it and saying what's in there. So how are we feeling about answering that question with 7 clues?
I mean, yeah, what outcome do we want here?
Yeah, you've got 3. Just to remind everyone, how is the harvest god most vulnerable? That's the one that basically lets you destroy it. What resources does it offer if appeased? That allows you to adapt their methods into a more sustainable operation that does not threaten the community. Or you can do the 8 complexity one, which allows you to basically reassign the harvest god to do something else. But it does give you another move, the Mark of Quickening.
What does the Mark of Quickening do?
Yeah, that's a good question. The Mark of Quickening,
aside from making you be a Highlander, I'd assume.
When you write a prayer mark to invoke the cycles of birth and decay within living matter, describe what the mark looks like, and then your next associated roll is made with vitality. So
I feel like
switch to a vitality instead of whatever else it might be.
I'm personally fine just appeasing this god and making it more sustainable in the long run.
I think that's a good trade-off for like
with how
having the mother's embrace and how like getting a +1 instead of getting this move, because that move in the scheme of things, that move would be great for me personally, but I know that I'm the beefcake.
You're the vitality king.
I'm the vitality king. So
I mean, like I could benefit, but like I would need to level up first because like my main move also uses vitality.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So like I'm a vitality communion
Adjacent.
combo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where you're just more vitality. So like it is good, but like with how difficult this thing has been, I'd rather go for the less complex
Clear it
selection.
out.
Yeah,
Clear it out.
Yeah, clear it out. I honestly just
Wait,
feel
we're
like
going
let's
for the
just-
4?
We're going
No.
to go 6.
Yeah, 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's, I mean, like that one, that's standard. That feels standard custodial duties of just like, let's keep the peace, figure it out, and then move on. Like, it's like,
It also
So-
feels like a really Theo thing, since Theo's
Yeah.
the person kind of dealing with it. It feels like
Yeah.
a Theo response.
it does.
So the question is, what resources does this harvest god offer if appeased? It allows you to resolve the assignment by working with the growers to adapt their methods and establish a more sustainable operation that does not threaten the community. I love all that. You're gonna have to figure out what resources it offers if appeased, and with the clues that you've got. The idea here being, I think you are kind of like coming up with an alternate thing, another plan for these people as opposed to what they're currently doing. And so I love all that. Do you all want to take a minute to think about an answer here?
Sure.
Sure.
All right, let's take 10. We'll come back. We should still have time to resolve them if we come
Okay.
back expeditiously. All right.
Yeah.
I think
Okay. So, yeah, I was about to say, like, looking at the clue list,
Oh,
the
Jason
things that
didn't
jump
turn
out.
off the recording.
Uh-oh.
Womp, womp, womp.
Womp, womp,
you're in
womp.
our realm now.
Welcome. Welcome,
Suckers.
viewers. Welcome,
Welcome to
suckers.
prime time, bitch. My
My
favorite Freddy Krueger line ever, just grabs the chick and shoves her into the TV. It's so good.
Okay, so do we think we have an answer for the hungering roots yet, or
Yeah. We think that the cycle is all out of whack, and
Okay.
that the people need to actually kind of start starving the plant a little bit, because that would help restart the cycle. We do like have like the notes in the Farmer's Almanac, which shows like how things were done before. So it's more or less a confirmation of this theory. And the problems are like the artificial lights that flicker because they
Mhm.
keep on like flashing the light, not giving it like the plant not any nighttime or anything of that nature. The antique bronze sundial that speaks to the sort of cyclical nature of the plant, but they have it so like modified so like the cycle keeps on repeating very, very fast.
well, let's back up a little bit because
Okay.
like the question that you're answering is what resources does the harvest god offer?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
marking those things, those are all just appeasements. Those are all just, like I was saying when you popped in, band-aids over bullet holes.
Mhm.
So appeasing this god would nullify the use of having these things.
Mhm.
That's where the resources,
Oh,
they
I
wouldn't
see.
have to
Yeah.
they wouldn't have to deal with power output and rerouting power to deal with this.
Mhm.
They wouldn't have to deal with like utilizing sundials attached to electrical instruments and everything like that. It can help them focus on other important parts of the community that need that
Mhm.
power.
Oh, interesting. So we're saying what basically. Okay, so you're saying what resources does the harvest god offer is essentially we're kind of saying that what it if appeased, what it does instead is it just doesn't require all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There must be a reason why they're doing it this way though, right? Presumably because it yields more or whatever when like they take it off its like regular cycles, I guess. Is that the
Mhm.
idea here? Or
Yeah, it's probably from what they understand is that it yields more. And like
yeah.
taking it from a gardening term, like you weren't in here, but I was like, when you're gardening and you have a plant that's growing, the best thing for you to do is to alter the environment that it's in instead of altering the plant itself.
Oh,
So like allowing it to grow freely, like not limiting restrictions on it and everything like that, like a lot of these
Mhm.
artificial lights are. Like what they're doing is like the compost bin being like, do not open this ever because there's dangerous stuff inside of it that we're trying to compost and get out of it. It's like you wouldn't need to do that if you would just like it could go back into a more natural process, and then in turn it would yield more bountiful harvests for like this roadside tea stand, which Amanda has something for that.
Oh yeah, we're thinking that it's not just a regular harvest god, it's also fertility. The people at the stand
Oh.
were actually, triplets of the person that died that Pele killed. This
Oh.
is a god that will bring about, good fertility for the entire town should it be treated in a more
Oh, I
natural, less
see.
synthetic way.
Interesting.
But over
Okay.
the years, it's been pushed and pushed and pushed to only be treated in a certain way in order to produce a certain type of thing.
Yeah, I sort of going off of that. It's sort of like why we've only really seen the one kid around here. Like it's like since it's been thrown out of whack, like the fertility aspects have like gone way down. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's intriguing. So we're saying what it offers is what it's actually meant to do
mhm,
is it's a fertility god. Oh, that's intriguing.
mhm.
And uh instead these people have like co-opted it to and changed its purpose and have tried to harness it try to harness its power like kind of almost like by violence by
Yeah.
sort of like unnatural violent means in order to get it to do to get it to do what they want.
Trying to
um
forcefully change its nature.
yeah, that's
yeah.
really interesting. Yeah. So what, okay, that's intriguing.
And while
um
normally it would be more of a god of things like life and death and decay and birth and
mm,
the balance therein, it is off its center. The
mhm.
cyclic nature is broken because the
Oh
town
yeah,
is
that's good.
doing everything they can to make it do one specific thing. And they're
Yeah.
not really sure how to do that even. They're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. They're
Right.
making wreaths, they're making sigils, they're making, okay, let's do these lights, let's try
Oh,
this out, let's see
oh,
what
it's just, oh yeah,
happens.
they've tried to do all kinds of different stuff. That's what, okay, that's
Yeah,
what that
rather than
clue
just
is. Yeah.
letting nature take its course.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, so for people watching the video, review the clues just so people are kind of following along since they can't read it like we can. So basically, the Farmer's Almanac notes the artificial grow lights flickering with a regular pattern, um, the the ritual wreath of broken scythes, shovels, and other farming equipment, the antique bronze sundial, um, all of it's just evidence that they have taken this god, which is normally for human fertility, and have tried to sledgehammer it into doing something else, which I think is really, really intriguing. Um, the the roadside stand manned by two individuals, the fertility, it helps people produce like twins and triplets, which I think is really wild. What was in the what was it? What was the compost bin? Did you know
Uh,
what?
there was toxic waste material because some of the plants it has been growing is not edible and it's not good for the land or anyone
Oh,
at all. So,
interesting.
so it's just been tossed into a bin.
Failed experiments or
Yeah.
failed yield. That's interesting. Okay, I like it a lot. So let's see if this is correct. Let's see if if what it truly offers is human fertility. Go ahead and roll with +1. Whoever wants to roll it.
Go for it, chaotic.
Oh no.
It's you, it's all great.
Well, that's a 5.
We're all marking over.
Are you all gonna write a verse, or are you gonna just let me react and try again later?
I'm fine with writing another verse.
I would love to write a verse.
I can write a verse.
Let me look at something real quick. Oh, damn. Yeah, I'll write a verse.
Mhm.
Very good. Okay. Everyone has written verses. You might note that you currently have 5 conspiracy clues as of today, which is a threshold in the conspiracy.
Oh,
Oh, is it now?
What's gonna
What does that
happen?
what does that do, Jason? What happens? Oh no.
What normally happens on the 5 conspiracy clues?
Oh no. So a threat becomes a danger. Oh no.
So, just when you're making your decision about whether to write a verse or not.
oh.
but it's up to you.
We're so scared.
Do we want?
I'd feel like really a bad custodian if we let the very first assignment get away from us.
Yeah.
Considering how much trouble we've had with this assignment, which has literally led to murder.
And it basically led to Pele being under the thumb of this institute already.
And it has been 4 sessions.
All right, maybe we just let it go.
I guess.
Jasper,
Do whatever you want to
think?
do. I mean, writing verses
I'm-
is fun because it's fun to do. So
I wrote
Yeah.
I wrote my verse if that's what we're doing. That's fun. But like I'm fine either way. Do whatever. I'm here. I'm riding.
Because the floating market becomes a danger if we...
Oh God, oh no, I do not want
Yeah.
the floating market
Well, not
as a danger.
necessarily. It just means that Jason can hold on.
I
to
just
it
have the
and pick
ability. I
something
can do it
else.
whenever I want. I don't have to do it
Yeah.
right away.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I'm just
Which-
saying, tactically, if you're thinking tactically, you should just know that I do have this in my arsenal right now.
Mhm. Yeah, like I really don't want the floating market to be the thing.
That just sounds extra dangerous.
Yeah, I
because I know
remember.
that one's useful for us. Just like
I-
it's a useful resource.
I remember in the playtest about how much trouble we got into with the floating market. That it was terrifying. I do not want
You want to let
that.
it ride?
That just sounds fun.
And also, you know what? If we let the hungering roots be this, I'm thinking real strategically now.
But
Be the
If
thing
Jason
that the
chooses,
clown
no
shed won't
guarantees.
be.
there's no guarantee.
Right.
There's no
And
guarantee.
also, I'm on team. Hey guys, maybe we just need one win. Maybe we just need a win. Like,
Yeah, a win would
maybe
be
we
nice.
maybe wouldn't it be nice if
We're
we,
about to get it with the Dust Mother, so that's
Yeah, so but like
Yeah.
can we just like be good custodians and knock 2 things off of our board so we'll have
That would be
more
pretty
new
cool.
problems
Ah,
just so we can actually do our job?
Explore more new stuff. You know.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
write verses then.
Let's
Okay.
write
Do it.
verses. We're writing verses.
Writing verses.
You're a really good devil on the shoulder there, Jason Cordova. I'll let
So that
you
bumps
know.
it up to a mid result. That bumps it up to a mid result. Time wise, I think we'll probably have, because you got a good roll on the harvest or on the Dusk Mother. I'll let you resolve that one now, Pele, just in
Mhm.
vignette. You can just describe the scene. I think we'll probably have to save the resolution for next week for the Hungering Roots.
Yeah.
But you are correct. So, but because it's a mid result, it'll be a little more complicated. I won't snatch it away from you with my threshold on the conspiracy, despite the fact that it makes a lot of sense. But because you guys burned 4 verses to get that right answer, I would feel guilty if I did that. So I won't do it.
Benevolent God.
I won't do it. So I'll just hold it for now, probably. But let's go ahead and let's just turn it over to Pele for now. Pele, you're the only one in left. You got your answer question was really good result. So I'm gonna basically let you do this with no resistance. Just describe like approaching, make this a cool moment, like approaching the angel, getting it to change its, like what are you going to refocus it on? Like what does this look like? And everybody else can contribute too in the scene if you want. So.
I think Pele, having gone to the lumber mill and seeing how insufficient it was in everything, I think Pele has an idea of sorts. And like with the meat packing plant, how wrong it felt. And I think Pele gets in his mind that there's a natural order to things. Like the environment works well with each other. It goes back to times of like the harvest of their own family, of being like, you don't fight against nature, you don't fight against this, you work with it, because if all these things work together, then it works out for everybody. If you just allow things to run their course in the ways that they're supposed to. Which is odd that we all wrote a verse for that, but hey, that's player versus character. But Pele approaches knowing where this nest is, and at first is going to try to hold out like cereal as a means to like, as like, this is bird feed or something like that, and then like has just like this thought of like, that's just that it's wrong, and probably just takes like a bag of feed, like something like that, like seeds and stuff like that. That seed packet that they had on them before, that's still there technically, but it was just used. But you know, and essentially approaches this old brick factory turned into a school, now a nest, and just starts setting up piles of like seed feed and everything, and just sits cross-legged and waits. And finally, this big angel, this bird mother, approaches and starts feeding. And we have this moment of Pele just sitting, and then he slowly stands. And Mother gets a weird look. And they approach slowly, eyes down, hand out. And then there's just a moment of tension. And then it nuzzles up against Pele's hand. And Pele starts scratching the like around the feathers, around the plumage and everything, around the neck. And there's just a moment of Pele putting their head up against this angel's head. And then looks off towards where the lumber mill and the meat packaging plant is. And it looks off towards that area. And it's just like this unspoken moment of them looking at each other. And like Pele's trying their best to just kind of will it and be like, you have to let your babies fly on their own. Eventually you have to just push them out of the nest, and you can't coddle them forever. And this malformed human bird hybrid that's giant just looks down, and like I imagine it had, instead of bird eyes, it's human eyes. And there's just like this lock. And then kicks up dust and wind. And it does a swirl around. And then it picks up some things from its nest. And it flies towards the meatpacking plant. And the lumber mill area.
So
and
what are you going to set it to protect now?
I think just that area. I think of just like the area of the industry for this town. It's going to protect that from outside sources. It's going to have it protect,
so they can rebuild
from
their industry.
They can rebuild their industry,
yeah.
and it can give the people a benefit to push back against one who rises beneath the loams, and can push back against like this bug god and everything Lord like that. Yeah, the seething Lord, like moving it away from the skeletons and giving it a wider area can help it protect the people there, so that they can get back to work and doing it safely and sufficiently, so the town can grow again. It doesn't look like the grapes of wrath around here.
Yeah, I like it. Good for Weft.
And then Pele just Bruce Banner walks out of the town. Sad.
Jasper, you want to do your first verse?
I'd be happy to.
Go ahead, and then we'll save the other verses for next week.
Yes, I've decided to do Jasper's verse of history in a particular style. So I marked the first verse of history, a flashback to your childhood, showing your first direct encounter with a god. Well, first, before we get to that, we see Jasper Finch walking alone through a dark, dilapidated neighborhood of buildings in some location. This is at some point in the modern day. We see him, he's carrying a hefty case, like a box case, not his usual satchel, as he approaches a boarded up and abandoned building, slipping a key into a lock around a side door and enters. And he steps inside his altar, the crumbling, abandoned theater of which only he has the key to, wandering through its many seats towards the stage where a ghost light has been left. He unplugs the ghost light, and we watch as he steps off stage, dragging a chair and a small table to the center stage. He sets the box case down, unclasps it, and pulls out a typewriter that he then sets on the table in front of him and begins to click away, the sharp mechanical punching of each key echoing out into the abandoned dark theater as he speaks aloud as he types what he is typing. Lights up. Our stage is set. The verses of Jasper Finch, Act 1, Scene 1. The narrow alleyway, markets bordering the furnace district of southern Glottage, also known as Wyman's Tangle, a choking snarl of tents, stalls, string lights, and patrons all pressed in by the weathered brick and mortar ramparts of dilapidated warehouses and sagging tenements. Spotlight on Finch, a plucky urchin of indeterminate youth. He wears ragged pants, many times patched, a plain shirt, and holds a paper boy's cap out before him. He stands atop a broken apple box at the corners of hither street and thither lane. Finch. Oh, see the masses walk this bustling street with callous hearts and cold, unfeeling feet. They pass me by, their eyes devoid of grace, as if I'm but a shadow in this place. The people of the tangle pass by in throngs, none notice him, none drop a coin into his cap. Finch. Methinks their coinage lies within their chests, yet to their hearts compassion is a jest. They turn their gaze, pretend they cannot see the plight of one, a wretched soul like me. Beneath this vermilion sky's embrace, I yearn for a morsel to fill my space. I dream of a world with hunger no more, where hope illuminates this dusty shore. Finch leaves his court behind, threading his small form through the crowds. He enters a dimly lit, eerie alleyway in search of scraps. Suddenly, a shadowy figure emerges from the darkness, revealing the grotesque form of a god made of tangled vermin and greed. Finch stands frozen in terror. God, with a twisted, echoing voice. Young urchin, halt! In shadows you have strayed, into my realm where a tithe must be paid, for every beggar, pauper, thief, or squire must render unto me their heart's desire. Finch, with a trembling voice, who art thou, fiend that hides in shadows deep, a god of rats and greed, and evil reap? What tithe, what tribute do you claim from me, in this forsaken place by shadow's decree? God, with a malevolent grin, I am the Tangle, lord of the wretched horde. In darkness and filth my powers stored. Your tithe, young Finch, is but a trifle's toll. Your innocence, your dreams, your very soul. As the god extends a gnarled, vermin-covered hand towards Finch, the alleyway seems to close in around them, and all is darkness. End scene. Click.
Bravo, bravo. Author. Let's go ahead and go to the end of session. We'll collect rewards since you all completed an assignment. I will paste the text into the chat, but I will read them aloud for video purposes. A fragment of writhes beneath the loam, content to slumber in a jar of dirt for now. Add it to your altar.
We know who that's going to.
Yeah, well, maybe, who knows? An old but serviceable birch and bone hunting rifle and half a box of ammo. Add it to your altar. An antique oil lantern that emits only shadow, which appears as a soft blue light to the one who carries it. A useful tool abandoned by the skeletons, describe it, and then add it to your altar. Or a memento from the investigation, ask another custodian to describe it, then add it to your altar.
I'm
wants what?
taking the oil lantern for my theater.
Indeed.
I'm taking Rise Beneath Alone.
Good.
Amanda, what are you thinking?
I think I'll get a useful tool because the hunting rifle just seems like a Pele thing.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like, the tool kind of makes sense with the hunting rifle. You just imagine Pele walking into town with an old birch and bone hunting rifle, just like.
I absolutely can.
I come in peace. Why are you so large? Why the rifle?
You
I
said that you
think
get to
that-
describe the tool. Yeah.
I think the tool that I have that's abandoned by the skeletons is like a Leatherman tool, like a multi-tool.
Oh yeah.
So it's not particularly good at any specific thing, but it has a lot of little uses. But
It's easy advantage on die roll, huh? Fantastic. You can go ahead and add all those things to your altars, and we're gonna hold. Or we're going to do end of session questions. We're going to hold all the other verses for next week, but let's go ahead and do end of session questions. So everyone is getting credit for, did the custodians complete an assignment? Yes, you did. Theo, did you engage with the god, angel, or other divine manifestation? Yes, you did. The Butter Princess. Did you go out of your way to connect with the local community? Yes, the Butter Princess. Did you deliver a monologue about any of the following? There's the various things there.
I suppose whether or not you consider it monologuing, but I don't think it's considered monologuing.
Okay,
I more or less like just changed the manager for his.
Oh
treatment
yeah,
of
that's
Butterfree.
it's not the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so you got 3 XP. Sedna, did you engage with the god, angel, or otherwise divine manifestation?
no.
Did you undermine the orders of your superiors or use the assignment to pursue personal interests?
Aside from illegally driving a car, I don't think so.
Did you deliver a monologue about any of the following? The nature of gods, the futility of individual choices in the face of indifferent powers, the horrors that society accepts as good and necessary.
No, I was too jolly today.
You were very jolly today. Yeah, I've been very, very jolly.
But I do get to level up, which is exciting.
That is exciting. Jasper Finch, did you engage with a god, etc.?
I mean, in my verse.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Did you deliver a monologue? I'm going to say yes. Yes, you deserve XP for something with that verse. Did you struggle with your personal faith?
I'm not sure if I did today explicitly. So
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pele, did you engage with the god? Yes, you certainly did.
Multiple.
Were you vulnerable with someone? Yes, you were.
Yes, I was.
Several times.
Yeah.
Did you struggle with your personal faith?
Yeah, with the bug god, because I was like we have an understanding.
Yep.
My faith will keep me strong, and it did not.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. I love it.
And I level up as well.
Ooh, lots of level ups.
End of session questions are done. Let's go ahead and go to stars and wishes. I'll start. Fantastic session. It was really exciting to kind of get the assignments pushing towards resolution. It was kind of fun to see the theories come together and sort of, I mean, really truly it's so much about like making the clues not just fit the theory, but like help you tell the story you want to tell. And I think that's really fun. We got to see a lot of that today. Star for Jasper's verse, that might be one of the most incredible things I've ever witnessed in a role-playing game. It was really, really something to witness. And I'm so hats off to you, Alex. It was really great. Very enjoyable. And yeah, so that was great. Really, really love the Pele being so connected to Weft. And sort of that whole thing was kind of really cool. The stuff with Dr. Ishra was cool. I really enjoyed the resolution of the Dusk Mother. I thought that was great. Star for leaning into that jolly condition for Sedna. It really changed the nature of the character for a little bit, at least until that condition's gone. But it was fun, and it actually led to a pretty interesting scene with Jasper. I liked it a lot. And star for this like ongoing subplot with Writhes Beneath the Loam and Theo. I want to know where that's going to go. I'm curious if Pele is going to fulfill their end of the bargain with Dr. Ishra, and what that all means for Theo, and what I'm curious, like what the intersections are going to be when you get ready to deal with this harvest god as well. Like I'm very curious about that. All in all, great session. Very just a lot of interesting things coming to a head and to a resolution, and we learned a lot more about the characters as well. So yeah, it's good times.
I want to bust my stars out real quick. Sedna, Amanda with the Jolly Condition, fantastic stuff. Also, like duo star between you and Alex, the diner scene during the journey move was just your interactions with like what is essentially a blowhard. It's just going on here and being like, I had a bad date one time, and then like you just being like, well, maybe okay, and it's okay, and you're just like trying to poke holes, but it's so hard to poke holes in Jasper Finch. Alex, wonderful. I can't wait to listen to more of the Finch verses. My favorite podcast that's available now on the peninsula. It's fantastic stuff. You just have such a great concept for this playbook as this follower, and you're sticking to it, and you're like even with like your choice of the reward, you know exactly like, yeah, that oil lantern will go perfect in my theater and everything like that. It works really well. And then chaotic Theo, the whole interaction with Butter Princess down in the basement was creepy, and you handled it perfectly. And like you being like, I loved there are rules, there are ways to go about this, and you are not doing like the sickly person who has a god infestation in them still has that connection to like their own staunch personal beliefs about how things, and like we talked a little bit off camera, but like of like you're sticking with Theo's like what you have in concept in mind for Theo of like, and like their relationship with gods and his relationship with like saints and angels and everything like that. It's very cool to see you play that out. Then of course Jason, Dr. Caro, I cannot wait. That's a great like repeat villain. You're a great devil on the shoulder when we're trying to make determinations and stuff like that. You're a great sounding board for when we're like making our answering of questions and like getting ready to resolve threats. It's really cool. And like once again playing in a game with you where you understand the tone and the atmosphere of the game and you're delivering it, so that we just get to be horrified and play in it. It's great stuff. Yeah. So yeah, and then wishes. I hope Theo isn't too mad when Theo gets his medicine.
Experimental whatever.
Saint juice. Yeah.
Saint juice. Yeah.
I will note that was the reason why I've been really gun-ho about getting my verses onto the table, because I have opinions about becoming a saint, and oh boy, it really makes me wonder, sort of like Carved from Redwood games as a whole don't really have PvP elements, but who knows?
It's actually something that came up in Discord the other day.
Yeah.
It was like PvP in these games, and I can't remember what we all settled on, but
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, Theo is not going to be happy with with medicine. Theo as a whole is like, oh yeah, I'll provide medicine to other people, not take anything for myself. That's just the nature of my faith. So yeah, that's going to cause conflict on so many levels, and I'm very excited to see that. Again, I just love the Butter Princess as both the restaurant and just like, oh, here's everybody gets a poached egg. Oh, Theo, you get a blood egg, and now you get to be a knight. And I'm like, what?
Can I interject? Because I have a star as well that's connected to that. A star for the journey phase and the journey scene and the journey move. We talked a lot about like whether this should be a whole separate thing. Like there's no reason why you can't just have regular scenes. Like, why does it have to be like a separate phase? And I am more and more convinced that the journey phase being called out specifically, mechanically, procedurally, makes so much sense, and it leads to like such a good outcome in terms of like the storytelling. I love that like it feels like distinct and special in the story. Like we highlight it, right? We highlight the travel, and that's what the podcast does. But it's also it actually really works well in this context, in the play context. I particularly love this Butter Princess thing because I don't know if you all noticed or not, but I was basically using your answers to the paint the scene questions to like build out what was going to happen in this scene, right? And I was having a lot of fun just like picking up like what you all were putting down, down to the egg yolks and the little knives or little swords, you know, and because I straight away, something made me think of like, okay, it's an actual princess, there's a saint, and then Sir Sago, that was very good too, by the way, and all that stuff. And then so it was all kind of coming into my head as you're all talking, and so I just love that was just such a great like just really good process. But yeah, start for the journey phase. Love the journey phase.
Yeah, I do like being combined up into one journey phase, because like I think it would have been a little bit complicated if we were separated it into two journey phases at once. So like I like being dropped off at like the plant stuff by myself. I also love seeing Pickles again. Where the Pickles is just gonna be a recurring character. Someone's gonna take their level up to like make like gain a follower of Pickles. I'm really fascinated by Jasper, because Jasper, I think, is still very faithful. But however, the faithfulness between Theo and Jasper are very different for them. Whereas like Pele and Sedna aren't very faithful. Like Senda is like ready to like drop her god for another one at like a moment's notice when it's most convenient for her. So I really liked her role playing this jolly condition, to see like what a glimpse into like her being a follower of the sweet jolly corn truth might look like, or what have you. And Pele's just awesome, and I really liked that with that failure of like spilling her guts out about the murder, like, and just like being like, is this gonna kill Theo? And the answer was like, no, it may make him a saint. It'll be fine. And he's like, okay.
And in Pele's brain, that's like, why wouldn't Theo want that? Like in Pele's brain, yeah, why would that's like a thing that we would all strive for, right? To be better used to those that we follow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm very excited for my verses, because it'll explain why Theo is not excited about that. Oh.
Yeah, stars all around. I'm echoing everything that's been said because everybody's already said what I was going to start again. Sir Sago was fucking hilarious. That was a great addition. Loved that. But I agree with Jason about the whole that journey phase, like really awesome. Just the way like it like played out and rolled from all the answers. Because like I had an idea for like what I was gonna say for the quirk, but as soon as we started introducing like the Don Quixote like knights errant thing, I'm like, oh, I got a different idea now, and I like this one even more. The journey phases thus far have been really fun. Like it's a great like spin on a familiar CFB mechanic, and like I really enjoyed like the narrative like stuff that comes out from it. So that was really emphasized today. Yeah, Pele's whole resolution with the Dusk Mother, I really kind of enjoyed seeing. This is a broader star, but like narrowing on Pele for a second, just I really enjoyed that vignette of how you resolved it, and then kind of zooming out, I really like that we did split the group 3 ways to go do different assignments and focus on different things. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do in any CFB game, especially with the assignment structure here, is just go out and do things, because also it let Theo shine on their own and do all of that. It let Pele shine, and then even with Sedna and Jasper, like on our own 2 respective different fronts, like we still got to like, we basically split off inside the place to go do our own things as well. So like it just really solid pacing today. And so like, good job, everybody. That was great role play. I really enjoyed Pink Sedna. That was star worthy for sure. Yeah, and then just again, I'm really happy with kind of how the elements of like the campaign are like bleeding in. Like it's got this like slow, it does feel properly like a conspiracy because it's got this slow bleed kind of like coming in, and the interactions with what was his name, Dr. fucking what was it,
Dr. Ishikaro.
Yeah, Dr. Caro, interesting character. Yeah, wishes. I What's the opposite of a wish? Because I don't want to see clowns anytime soon, but I also want to see clowns soon. I know that assignment will probably happen eventually. I'm looking forward to that. Thanks, Michael Van Vliet.
Thanks,
what
Michael Van Vliet.
No, I'm
Thanks,
genuinely
Michael Van
excited.
Vliet.
I hope whatever Jason picks for his keeper reaction will be the most terrifying option for all of us. And I'm also just generally excited for some of the elements I know kind of come into the campaign that'll interrupt us in our duties. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, a lot of the same stars. Theo and the Butter Princess, and Theo and the Rise Beneath the Loam, and Theo going to find pickles, and that whole interaction. Just this is a very solid Theo session, and I was really, really happy for that. It's cool to see Theo kind of doing his own thing, but at the same time manipulating all these different parts of the world and really using all the different parts of the environment that are available to you chaotically, using that for your storytelling was a lot of fun to watch. Big star, of course, for Jasper's verse. The Finch verses are great. I'm so excited to hear more about why Finch, why are you like this? Why are you like this? And I'm excited to learn more about that. I also really liked the scene in the journey phase with Sedna and Jasper. I thought that was just a lot of fun playing off of that. And a big star for the as I was saying about me, because that was
Oh, I
just
love that line so much. As I was saying about me, that was so good.
so good. I really liked the conversation. I really liked the conversation between Pele and Dr. Caro. It was tense, but also very like friendly in a really fucked up way, and I really like that kind of thing. I also really appreciate, Wes, when you mentioned that you did not want to go into detail about the meatpacking plant. As the resident vegan here, I appreciate that.
I have a lot of qualms with the meat industry, but I also understand that those qualms should not be publicly displayed for the sake of other people.
Yeah, we don't want people like turning off halfway through, like, that's
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this whole thing was a lot of fun. As for wishes, gosh, I think a lot of them have been touched on. I'm excited to see what we're going to be doing next. I'm excited to see what sort of things are going to happen with the Farragle Institute and what they're going to be doing to us. Hopefully, nothing bad. I'm choosing another faith sheet move that is going to be really interesting, and I think it'll be a good trigger for a lot more Saint Electric stuff for my character. So I'm excited to play around with that. And I'm excited to hear all the verses that everyone's going to start with next time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yay.
Yay. Any other stars or wishes? Okay. Fantastic session. Thank you all so much. Let's wave goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.